Everyone, my name is Sergeant Schlegel, and today I will be conducting individual training on performing surveillance without the aid of electronic devices. This will be done in accordance with STP 21-1 as well as STP 21-2 CMCT, and we will also be referencing TC 3-21.75. The risk mitigation for today is low. However, things to consider and be mindful of is any form of heat casualty, as well as the local wildlife and the dreaded COVID-19 virus. In order to combat these risks, we have gone ahead and rolled our sleeves and unbloused our boots, as well as all of us are carrying hydration systems that we will be utilizing throughout today's training. For the local wildlife, under no circumstances are any of the trainees or myself to disturb the local wildlife and disrupt its natural state unless absolutely necessary. So in the event of you conducting your training and you are forced to stop due to wildlife concerns, you will alert myself, the instructor. I will come over and go ahead and assess what we're dealing with here and either remove the local wildlife, or we will go ahead and just move to a different training area. And as far as COVID-19 goes, we are currently outdoors, so as far as risk for that, I do not see that being an issue, but we will go ahead and practice social distancing as best as we can for today's training. And again, as a reminder, it is the responsibility of all DoD personnel and civilians to preserve the environment. Now, before we begin, I'd also like to state that all training being conducted here today and all knowledge being passed is unclassified. So let's go over the task condition standards for performing surveillance without the aid of an electronic device. Conditions: you are a member of a squad or team in a defensive position and must conduct surveillance within your assigned sector during both daylight and limited visibility or night. Some iterations of this task should be performed in MOP 4. Before we go any further, we will not be conducting any training in MOP 4 today, nor will we be training during limited visibility and nighttime. We are going to keep this to a day iteration only. And the standards for this is to identify potential activity indicators and conduct a visual search of your assigned sector, as well as submit salute reports as required. Again, safety risk is low, and we will go ahead now and move towards the demonstration. Before I demonstrate, I want to lay out what that means. I'll be demonstrating 2 performance steps as well as passing up a salute report. So I will go ahead and begin. And for salute report, we have two potentially enemy vehicles in the open, approximately 50 meters to the front of our current position. They were spotted at 16:54 local time, and no special equipment listed in the vehicle. That would be an example of a salute report, as that concludes my demonstration. So, what did I just do? All right, so going back to the beginning here, the conditions and standards were: you are a member of a squad or team in a defensive position and must conduct surveillance with your assigned sector during both daylight, limited visibility, MOP 4. We already talked about MOP 4. We already talked about this will be a daytime iteration only. So, moving forward, identify potential activity indicators and conduct a visual search of your assigned sector, as well as submit a salute report as required. So, how that worked was, when I first came up, I got into a position where I could see my assigned sector that I am going to be looking for. And in that, first thing we do is to identify potential activity indicators. Now, two vehicles immediately in front of me. Vehicles can be associated with people, and that there would be a sign of activity, okay? So we marked those vehicles, made sure we knew where they were, about how far away, disposition, color, any notable information we made a mental note of, or you can write down. Step number 2, now this one took a little longer, as you may have noticed, was to conduct a day observation. Now there's 3 pieces to that. There's the rapid scans. When you first again saw me come up into position, after I had pointed out and identified the 2 vehicles, I began my scans, okay? Relatively quickly, trying to get the lay of the land in front of me, starting at about 100 meters out in front of me, from left to right. I get to the far right, I move another 100 meters in depth, so I'm scanning out 200 meters now, and I go from right to left, another 100 meters, so on and so forth, out to roughly 500 meters, okay? Now, upon completion of that, I repeated the step, but this time slower, which is called a slow scan, okay? Again, another 100 meters at a time, left to right, right to left, overlapping as you go, okay? And then the third thing I did was use a detailed search technique, okay? And you'll notice when I got the final set of scans I did, I kind of sectored off. I resectored my already given sector, okay? Start at my right and move to left. One section of it at a time, all the way through. And I'm scanning near to far and far to near to make sure I didn't miss anything on my rapid and slow scans, all right? And then the final thing was my salute report. The only thing of note that is currently in play for this exercise are those 2 vehicles out there. So we went through, and in case you're not tracking what a salute report is, it's SALUTE, and it's an acronym for size of, whatever enemy element or whatever it is you're pointing out. So you have size, activity is the next one. What is it doing? In this case, the disposition of those vehicles, they are stationary in a field, okay? Location, about 50 meters to my front, in a field. And then unit, unidentified. There's no unit markings on there, so we just went through. And then time. You'll notice I looked at my watch and realized it was 16:54 local time, which, to clarify, is currently Eastern Standard Time. And then equipment. They don't have any equipment on those vehicles or anything really notable with that, but one thing you could say, like say it's a technical vehicle or something like that, the equipment piece could be included to cite the weapon that may be mounted on the vehicle, if it had. Okay, so before we begin, I'm going to once again read you the task condition standards, because my 2 participants will each have 2 minutes. They can do that simultaneously. They will go ahead and practice this technique for 2 minutes in the designated stations I provide, and then post that. We will go ahead and evaluate them, and I will give them either a go or no go on their current assessment. Okay, so Sergeant Saldana, if you'd like to come position yourself here, and Sergeant Schmidt, if you would like to actually see that open spot right there, once you position yourself there, and then turn back and face me, please. Okay, again, task condition standards. You are a member of a squad or team in a defensive position and must conduct surveillance within your assigned sector during both daylight and limited visibility. Some iteration of this task should be performed in MOP. And again, no MOP gear today and daylight iteration only. Standards: to identify potential activity indicators and conduct a visual search of your assigned sector and submit salute reports as required. Go ahead and practice. Now, one last technique I will give you. Of course, you can try to go off memory like I did for mine, but I would also go ahead and encourage you to write down your salute report, okay? And it's spelled just like you'd think: size, activity, location, unit, time, and any equipment. Now, again, right before we go, I just want to cover your risk mitigation one last time. It's low. Make sure you're drinking water to combat heat casualties. We've already done up our uniforms in the appropriate manner. You are correctly socially distanced to avoid the dreaded COVID-19, and go ahead and check your areas for wildlife. And then you are good to begin your practice. I have 1701 local at 1703. We will go ahead and begin our assessment. Go. One minute remaining. Five, four, three, two, one. Your practice time has ended, and please turn to face me. All right, we will now be moving into the assessment phase. All right, we're going to do this one at a time. Sergeant Saldana, you will go first. And again, not to beat the dead horse, but just to give you every advantage possible, we will go ahead and cover your conditions and standards one last time. You are a member of a squad or team in a defensive position and must conduct surveillance within your assigned sector during both daylight, limited visibility, and some iterations may perform MOP, no MOP, daytime only. Identify potential activity indicators and conduct a visual search for your assigned sector. Submit salute reports as required. Do you understand the task condition standards?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Whenever you're ready, you may begin. Yeah, go ahead and send me your salute.
So I don't know what the size of the enemy is, but the only activity is 2 stationary vehicles. About 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 100 meters ahead. I forgot what the heat was. Time is 17:05, and I forgot what the
Okay. You are complete with this station. You may stand over here and wait for your evaluation. All right, Sergeant Schmidt, why don't you go ahead and now this has become vacant. Why don't you go ahead and move to the position here, and we will begin when you are ready. Salute report. Size of the enemy, didn't have enough information, currently unknown. Activity, 52 unmanned stationary vehicles. Location, about 50 meters, my 11 o'clock. No unit markings that I can see. At a time of 17:09. And for equipment would be the 2 potential enemy vehicles. All right, Sergeant Schmidt, that completes your evaluation. Students, if you'll please gather around me. Okay. Now, today we came out here and conducted individual training of the subject, performed surveillance without the aid of electronic devices. Sergeant Saldana, you are a no-go at this time for an incorrect salute report, all right? And Sergeant Schmidt, you are a go at this time. You followed all the steps in accordance with everything we went over and gave a correct salute report. So, at the end of this, before we close this out, we're going to do cover what we did here. So we came out to perform surveillance without the aid of electronic devices, with the in accordance with STP 21-1 and STP 21-2, as well as the reference of TC 21.75. Excuse me, TC 3-21.75. All right, so what happened out here, guys?
So we performed surveillance without the use of electronic devices, Sergeant.
Okay, good. And Sergeant Schmidt, why don't you give me an improvement?
Starting to say an improvement would probably be perhaps more a better example of an enemy rather than just 2 stationary vehicles.
Gotcha. That's we could try to facilitate that for next time. And Sergeant Saldana, give me a sustain.
We should continue doing training on a weekly basis.
Gotcha. All right. So we came out here, performed surveillance.